Tapes, Episode 1, Pilot. Hello, my name is Celia McEllen. I'm a recent graduate of New Hope University, and I'm searching for my professor, Jonathan Kester. The odds are, if you're listening to this, I've failed and gone missing as well. Or maybe even worse. Anyway, you're gonna have to pick up where I left off. John was my global studies professor, and someone who I really look up to. He has such a passion for new discoveries in this strange world we live in. He would come in, his iconic crimson scarf coiled around his neck like a cobra, and he'd talk for hours. And for every one of those hours, he'd entertain an ear-to-ear grin that I've yet to see fade. I've never met anyone so passionate. He honestly inspired me to begin my apprenticeship as a charter for New Hope. I'm rambling, but anyway, it was that passion that gave him the guts to go out here and search for new information for the class. The class curriculum, advanced as it was, didn't meet his standards. He insisted he go out and find new things for us to learn about, even with his years as a charter well behind him. He was only supposed to be gone for a week, but that was 2 years ago. All I have to track him is his journal, and a pretty rough map Clint gave me. His wife reached out to me recently. She said the detectives ended their investigation and they only found his journal and a few other personal effects. They think he's dead, but neither his wife nor I believe them. I'm not sure if you picked up on this, but missing persons investigations don't get much attention or manpower once they're outside city limits. The only reason they were looking this long is because he's both a retired charter and a resident of one of the upper districts. I mean, on one hand, I'm happy us charters who go out here and survey new lands and civilizations get some respect, but I wish it extended further to others as well. Wait, is that... Yeah, I think I see a village up here. According to my map, this should be Cedarville, but it just looks so much farther. I didn't think I'd get here till, at least sunset. I was planning on staying the night, but, well, there's still so much daylight left. Okay, I'm gonna cut it here. See you when I get back. Well, that was something. For starters, I was right. This is definitely Cedarville. I feel like I should describe this place. I mean, that is my job as a charter. Well, for starters, this is a pretty small town. Only one main road with a few branching dirt paths. Most houses here are framed in splintering wood beams and washed out old bricks. It's nothing out of the ordinary for an outer city civilization, but one thing that did catch my eye, there's this one house, and it's a bit out of the way, but I could still see it from when I entered town. Its structure is much like the others, but the wood, it's like some kind of animal used as a scratching post. There are these deep lacerations into the wood, but the part of the wood that's been carved into is brighter than the rest. So it had to have been recent because nothing's weathered down that portion of the wood yet. Well, I guess that's a mystery for another day. So I went into the local tavern and tried to make some conversation with the locals. They were pretty suspicious of me at first. I'm guessing they don't get too many visitors all the way out here. Not like anyone from New Hope is gonna dare set foot outside these walls. Most people wouldn't talk to me, but this one woman, Thea, seemed interested in my story. She's an interesting one herself, a tall woman with a rather slender frame. If she weren't so tall, I think her dark hair would easily reach her waist. It was difficult to pick up on any of her subtle details, as I was immediately drawn to her unusual amber eyes. They were like the hot coals resting in the tavern's fireplace. We talked for a while, about her town, about mine. It was actually pretty relaxing to unwind after such a long journey. While in her company, I almost forgot why I was there in the first place. The details she gave me about the history of Cedarville were just so fascinating, but I think I'll leave that part out of these recordings. Anyway, I showed her my map and the journal pages describing an unusual city. According to the order of the pages, it was where John visited after leaving here. His journal, while informative, isn't much help for tracking. It only talks about each place he's visited, so my only hope is to retrace his steps. Thea only skimmed the page before her eyes lit up. It's a major city called Daros, she told me. And she did recall a man passing through Daros a few years back. I don't know for sure if he was the man she saw, but I'm hopeful. Leah actually offered to take me there. She said she was planning on visiting soon, but was willing to move up her trip to accompany me. I'm not sure what to think of her. I've only known her for a few hours or so, but I'm suspicious of her being so willing to help me. I mean, I don't have much of a choice, though. I'm unfamiliar with the area, and this map lacks some serious detail. I'm supposed to meet her back in town in about 10 minutes, after she's done getting ready. Right now, I'm just resting by this lazy creek that runs along the main road. The frogs are singing, and the water gently flows between the rocks, taking a few stray leaves with it. It's been so long since I've heard their song. I almost wish I could stay. Just for a little while longer. So it's late now. I've been traveling with Leah for a while. She's mostly been telling me about Taros and what I can expect once we end up there. Apparently it's relatively welcoming of most species, so I suspect I'll be seeing some unknown creatures. I'm over the moon, but I still need to keep focus. I think I've got a good pace, but I need to allow myself some time to ask around about John. I don't know what would make him decide to just up and leave like that. Whatever he was on to must have been huge. I better get some sleep. Tomorrow's gonna be a long day. So we've been walking for about an hour or so. My rations are still looking good for at least a couple more days, but I might pick something up at Daros. According to the journal, John's last entrance was about an unusual performance put on by a circus in the jungle. It would take months to reach it on foot. I'm not counting all the stops we'd have to make for supplies, but, by the time I got there, he'd probably be gone already. Maybe I can figure out whatever he was onto and follow that trail instead. One of his entrances for Daros talks about an underground market where people buy illegal magic relics or classified information. I think that's a good step. Yeah, did you hear that? I think it came from...